Well, good morning to you and the viewers at home. As you can hear behind me, it's a hive of activity at the Gallagher Estate as the second day of the Presidential National Summit Against Gender-Based Violence and Femicide kicks off today. Now, there was a lot of emotion yesterday for various reasons, one of those being that not all vulnerable groups were represented on the stage to hold various stakeholders accountable. I want to bring in Child Ambassador from the Northwest, Midrand, Pretorius, who's going to speak to us a bit about that vulnerable group in this fight and eradicating the scourge against gender-based violence and femicide. It is the children. Midrand, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let's talk a bit about the scourge against children. If you had a chance to speak to the president and other stakeholders, what would you have said yesterday?
In all honesty, we would like to have more child participation in decision-making processes concerning us. Many decisions are being made for children without the children. You can't just assume that it's like this when it's not. You need to work in collaboration with us. Each and every single province has a child ambassador. It is these ambassadors that government and stakeholders and His Excellency Mr. President should be working in collaboration with to eradicating many of the social ills which we face in our country.
And what would children like to place on the agenda at the summit?
We would like to place the fact that we have not been included in the National Strategic Plan. We have not been consulted when this plan was drafted. Yesterday, when the floor was open for questions and for comments, I mentioned that we have been pushing to be put on yesterday's agenda or on yesterday's program so that we could address the president himself, so that we could address the ministers, so that we can bring our issues forth, because children are not taken seriously, you know. So
you were obviously represented by adult delegates. Do you feel that your plight was misrepresented or was not placed before stakeholders appropriately?
Yes, because a lot of the time when things are done for children, children are never consulted. They don't understand what it is that we face, or they don't understand what it is that we go through. So they should consult with us. They should ask us what our recommendations are, what we suggest should be done, what our problems are, how we should tackle gender-based violence, instead of making decisions on our behalf.
And how should the scourge be challenged or tackled rather towards children?
I think one thing would be to allocate resources to the child ambassadors, because they are doing work on the ground. So when we have a bigger budget allocated towards us, we can create campaigns and we can create child-led organizations where we fight gender-based violence in our schools or in our neighborhoods or in our communities.
And what are you hoping for as the summit concludes today?
I'm hoping that they can see that children are more than fully capacitated and equipped. We understand our rights, we understand our responsibilities, we understand that we have a right to participation, we have the right to be heard, we have the right to freedom of speech. We want to be taken seriously. In each and every single decision that the government makes concerning children, children should be there. We should be consulted, we should be included in the process. That's where one of the biggest gaps are. Children are not consulted, children are not asked any questions. So I'm hoping from now on we can have child participation.
All right, thank you so much. That was Child Ambassador from the Northwest, Midrand Pretorius, making it very clear that children want to be included in the summit. Well, day 2 kicks off in a few minutes, and SABC News will be giving you that live. Over to you in studio.